Hello, I'm Amer Kaissi. I'm an executive coach, I'm a professional speaker, I'm a book author, and I'm a professor of leadership at Trinity University in San Antonio. And I recently wrote a book called The Positive Intent Mindset: Exceptional Leadership Through Trust and Accountability. Now, the main idea of this book is when someone appears to be doing something wrong, or maybe something offensive or unexplainable to us, assuming positive intent is about replacing judgment with curiosity, giving that person the benefit of the doubt, and starting with the assumption that they may have a valid reason for acting that way. So, the idea, when we bring it to work, for example, is to act under the assumption that our colleagues are trustworthy and that they share our desire for a positive outcome for the team, and to expect them to behave in this positive way, even if we are not sure. That is the starting point. Now, why did I write this book? Everyone knows that we live in a very negative world right now. It's a very divisive world. And employees at many companies bring that negativity with them to work. As a result, employee engagement is suffering, and that impacts the relationships that people have at work. Trust goes down, collaboration is not where it should be, and most of us are miserable. Now, what is the reason for all of this, the low engagement, trust, and collaboration? A big part of it is we assume negative intent towards each other. What are the reasons why we do that? There are two general categories of reasons. Some of them are external and some of them are internal. First, the external reasons are obvious. Social media, cable news TV, every single day we are bombarded with negative news. We hear about thousands of people behaving in bad ways, right? We hear about scammers, liars, cheaters, murderers. And we start thinking to ourselves, the whole world is like that. And we start thinking, everyone is out there to get me. We start thinking that the world is so unsafe. But in fact, if we look at the numbers and the data, the world is not unsafe. It's actually much safer than it used to be. Scientific evidence shows that we right now live in the most safe time in the history of our species in terms of crime rates and property crimes and all of that. But because of social media, because of cable news, we think that the world is so unsafe. So we try to protect ourselves. We hold on to our fears and our insecurities. And that's why we assume negative intent towards other people. So that's the external part of it. The internal part of it is we have our own biases. Psychologists have talked about something called the fundamental attribution error. The idea is when we are interacting with others and observing their behaviors, we tend to judge them by their actions rather than their intentions. But when we are looking at our own behaviors, we judge ourselves by our intentions, not our actions. The simple example is you're driving on the highway and someone cuts you off. Immediately, you think to yourself, this person is a jerk. They're a reckless driver because you are judging the behavior. There's no time, there's no space to judge the intention. However, when we are on the highway and we cut someone off, when the roles are reversed, we judge ourselves by our intentions. I'm driving this way today because I'm late to a doctor's appointment, because I'm late to an important meeting. So we think what my intentions were rather than what is my behavior and how did it impact other people. There's also another tension going on there with the fundamental attribution error, and it's a tension between the person and the situation. We judge others based on their person and we ignore the situation that they are in. So when your colleague walks into a meeting late, you're judging the person, you're judging their character. You start thinking to yourself, oh, this person is unprofessional, is lazy. However, When we walk into the meeting late, it's all about the situation. My kids were late to wake up. I couldn't drop them on time to work. There was traffic on the way, right? It's all about the situation. Now, these are valid reasons, and that's why we assume negative intent. But that doesn't mean that we can't change that default setting. We can actually change our mindset and assume positive intent. And for that, we need to replace fear and insecurity with realistic optimism, empathy, and humility. Realistic optimism is about interpreting others' actions in a very specific way, focusing on three main aspects of it: permanence, pervasiveness, and personalization. So, if someone at work makes a mistake, for example, typically we tend to think about it as permanent. Oh, this person made a mistake, so they're going to continue to make mistakes. We also make it pervasive. They made a mistake in writing the report. For sure, they're going to make a mistake when they are presenting the data. And finally, we think about it in terms of personalization. They made this mistake because they are lazy, they are negligent, they are incompetent. But what if we change the mindset and think about it in terms of short term, specific, and impersonal? What if we think, okay, they made the mistake, but it doesn't mean they're going to continue to make this mistake. All right, they made a mistake in a specific area. It doesn't mean that they are incompetent all around. And finally, they made a mistake that may not necessarily be due to their person, to their character, to their skills. Maybe it's due to the situation that they found themselves in. Maybe it's about the workload. Maybe it's about, being overwhelmed. So that's the realistic optimism. And then we get to empathy. Empathy is about asking a couple of simple questions. What if the other person is trying their best? And what if they have a valid reason for the way that they are acting? And finally, we have humility. Humility is being open-minded, is replacing judgment with curiosity. And it's about asking a very personal but very brave question. After someone does something wrong or appears to be doing something wrong, we ask ourselves, have I myself done something similar to what they have done in the past? And most often, the answer is going to be yes, I have done this before. So who am I to judge them for doing this? Now, I want to make sure that you understand that this is not a naive approach to work and to life, because some people are jerks and do not deserve the benefit of the doubt. And that's why we need accountability. When a colleague wrongs us or disappoints us, we provisionally assume positive intent and then we go check with them. We hold them accountable. So giving the benefit of the doubt to others does not replace conflict management or having difficult conversation. It enhances it. Now, what are the benefits of assuming positive intent? We're going to talk about that some more in depth in future videos. But for now, the research tells us that it improves engagement, collaboration, and trust. And most importantly, it makes us happier. Thank you for listening. If you like this video, please like and subscribe.